Black medical pioneer, life and legacy of Dr. George Whittington Kennard. 6 years before the beginning of the Civil War in antebellum Baltimore, George Kennard is born. He and his family lived on Bethel Street, which is in historic Phelps. According to the 1860 census, there were over 83,000 free blacks in antebellum Baltimore. The Kennard family played a role in that tabulation of free blacks in Baltimore. His father, Reverend Benjamin Thomas Kennard, who pastored the same church that a young George attended for many years, the Asbury M.E. Church. As a young person, George's occupation was as a furniture hauler, and he lived on Dallas Street. Dallas Street is famous in the annals of Baltimore's history because of the connection to the iconic Frederick Douglass. Two white doctors play a significant role in his development in becoming a black doctor. Those two doctors are identified as George B. Cook and Dr. M. Kirk. Unfortunately, after 20-some years of research and consultation with professors in and out of the state, published material, non-published material, we have not been able to uncover any background on these two white doctors. He starts off with his hospital in around 1885 on Sterling Street. And in the early 1890s, he doesn't move very far, but he relocates to what once was an old pottery building that was refurbished and remodeled. And this is located at 704 and 706 Enzer Street. And today, in 2022, if you drive by or walk by or use any aerial video photography, you realize that you're looking at a nondescript, decrepit building that is one step away from collapsing and demolition, and the rest of the story will have to be told through projects such as this. An inscription that once was on the exterior of the decrepit building read, "For the cure of all manner of diseases." In essence, this building, a home-like hospital where the best treatment could be had. For the patients that could not pay, there were rooms available, and for ones that could, the rate was as small as $1. And from the beginning, though Dr. Kennard was black, his whole infrastructure was interracial. In setting up the medical school, the nursing school, the pharmacy, the church, and the fraternal and benevolent society, it was always interracial. Kennard was the point person, but his support staff, he had doctors on staff from England, and he even had white nurses and so forth. And we are intrigued by this interracial activity at a time when there's a lot of laws tied into segregation and tied into Jim Crow that really made life in Baltimore difficult for people of African descent. So in essence, Kennard is indeed a visionary, and he's moving along at a really good pace up until Abraham Flexner comes onto the scene. And many people are aware of Flexner's work because of the 1910 Flexner Report that in essence wipes out 5 of 7 medical schools that were created and sustained for African Americans. The best way for one to fully understand the complexities of Dr. George W. Kennard is to break down the various components of his operation. If you look at the Reverend Dr. George W. Kennard, you look at an interracial church that has a far-reaching impact, that has guest preachers and pastors from around the country that are connected and affiliated with his church. Then if you look at the educational component, you look at the medical school, the pharmacy, the nursing school, and the hospital. And then if you look at the entrepreneurial component, you look at the Family, Fraternal, and Benefit Society of Baltimore, incorporated in 1906. So in essence, you have literally an early one-stop shop of faith healing, of medical healing, of holistic, homeopathic, and allopathic activities all under one roof. At his death in 1929, it was reported that at least 1/3 of his congregation was white. So you're appealing to the Gentile, the Jew, the wealthy, the poor. Kennard truly was a race man that did not see color, that was able to take care of both the needy and the intellectual all at the same time. And his story is well worth a deeper dive as we move forward, and the last vestige of his physical space will soon be torn down. According to the September the 4th, 1912 edition of the Afro-American Ledger, an advisory board for Christ Institute was selected. The Christ Medical, Chirurgical, Theological, and Industrial College. And if you notice, they go through different iterations with names, so they operate under 5 to 6 or more different names at different times according to different sources, whether it be a black newspaper or a white newspaper. The thing that is most significant about this advisory board is that one of the physicians, Dr. Charles H. Fowler, was one of the founders of the Providence Hospital in Baltimore. Kennard was able to not only do the faith healing and any of the homeopathic type of work, and in the eyes of some, quackery, he was able to be connected and advised with some of the leading, quote unquote, traditionally trained academic black doctors as well. Kennard has such a tremendous reach across the country. He's able to do medical correspondence with patients. We were able to find one original letter where the patient was thanking Dr. Kennard for the written communication and sending a prescription to her that helped her out, and she looked forward to a physical visit from New Jersey back to Baltimore. So, to sum it up, you have a faith healer, a man that is willing to go to court to dispel any of the false narratives about his life and what goes on under his roof in his buildings. He has, again, a doctor or two from Europe on staff. One, a noted doctor that published numerous books, was connected to the King of England. And he even had the likes of the son of Harriet Beecher Stowe that came through and graduated from one of his schools. So when you quickly look at the impact of Kennard, it's in the face of the Flexner Report. It's in the face of lack of funds. It's in the face of discrimination, disbelief. But he fulfilled a niche. There was a void in Baltimore's healthcare community, and Kennard filled that niche, and it was evident upon his death when he had over $100,000 in his estate in 1929, and over 3,000 people filled the streets to pay homage to this great man. In addition, he was also a Masonic leader, and he operated a sanatorium in another part of the state. So for all of that said and done, Kennard's story is still under researched, is still under recognized, and we hope this is the beginning of a greater movement to show that there always was and always will be more than one way to heal people in need of healing other than the traditional big white institutions that have set the tone for this conference.